Eric Drouet, one of the leading public figures in France's Yellow Vests protests, has been arrested for a second time, in what some fear may represent a clampdown on the movement. He was arrested on suspicion of organizing an unofficial protest in Paris, after he encouraged people to gather and lay candles near the Champs-Élysées for those who had died during months of protests. The demonstration was aimed at shocking public opinion, as he put it. His swift arrest at the scene prompted one leading political figure to label the protest leaders' detention an abuse of power by the government. Mr. Drouet is a lorry driver by trade, and rose to prominence online during the emergence of the Gilets Jaunes, or Yellow Vests, movement in October and November 2018. The movement focused initially on the rising cost of fuel, and was named after the high-visibility vests required by law by every motorist in the country. Mr. Drouet, 33, is credited with suggesting that angry drivers deliberately block or slow traffic in their area on 17 November, causing enough disruption to attract the government's attention. After some 300,000 people took part in the first wave of weekend protests on that day, the movement spiraled. It was followed by weeks of similar large-scale protests across France. Agent Gilets, Eric Drouet, VINTD, Southeast Fair Intabella, Palais Forces de l'Ordre and Margide, Honoré SSCMBLEMENT, Paris at Corpus Pic, Twitter, Guido. End of Twitter post by @ClementLenaut. Mr. Drouet was frequently cited as one of the figureheads of a movement that was largely decentralized and lacked any formal leadership. He acted, alongside several others, as a kind of spokesman for the protesters, rallying support on Facebook and appearing on television. Then came his first arrest on 22 December, during the sixth wave of protests. Deputy Interior Minister Laurent Nunez said that Mr. Drouet had organized an undeclared demonstration and had changed the planned venue. He was charged with carrying a weapon in the form of a baton and for taking part in a group formed with intent to commit violence. His lawyer said the baton was just a piece of wood that was in his bag and argued the arrest was politically motivated and aimed at discrediting him. He is facing trial for his first arrest in June. He was detained again on 2 January. Suspected of organizing another undeclared protest, after going on social media with a call for action. This time, a few dozen people took part and no yellow vests were involved. After his arrest, Mr. Drouet's lawyer told the BBC that his client had not taken part in any demonstration, but he was simply meeting friends in central Paris. He was simply a participant, not the organizer, his lawyer said. The number of protesters turning out in Paris each weekend has gradually declined, after making a raft of small economic concessions last month. President Emmanuel Macron struck a defiant tone in his New Year address to the nation, saying the government would push on with its reform program, and would make no allowances in guaranteeing public order. Mr. Drouet's latest arrest has led to an outpouring of support from members of the Gilets Jaunes movement, and also political opponents of the French president on the left and right. Jean-Luc Mélenchon, a left-wing leader, and former presidential candidate, wondered why he had been arrested again, and suggested that it was abuse of power. He accused the politicized police of harassing the leaders of the Yellow Vest movement. Enough violence, convictions, and arrests against the Yellow Vests. Free Eric Drouet. He tweeted, Marine Le Pen, leader of the far-right National Rally Party, also expressed support for Mr. Drouet, referring to Mr. Macron's defiant New Year speech. She tweeted, his aggressive 31 December wish is unsystematic violation of his opponent's political rights, paint a terribly disturbing picture of Emmanuel Macron, as well as guaranteeing public order. Mr. Macron criticized the unnamed individuals, claiming to speak for the French people. He said they were the mouthpieces of a hate-filled crowd who target elected representatives, security forces, journalists, Jews, foreigners and homosexuals. A popular tourist attraction has become the latest Chinese company to show solidarity with Huawei's chief finance officer, Meng Wanzhou, who was arrested in Canada on 1 December. Shannon Mountain Scenic Park in eastern Henan Province said it would waive the $9.40, 65 yuan ticket fee for anyone carrying a Huawei phone. Ms. Meng, who was given bail in Canada, faces extradition to the United States on charges of breaking Iran sanctions. Her case has upped tensions with China. U.S. Huawei phones shoot grand photos on the mountain. A notice on the Shannon Park's social media account said, "We wish friends around the world who support Huawei's success in bliss." The offer would last until 29 December, the South China Morning Post reported, but it was met with some criticism among China's social media users, who claimed it was discriminatory. Huawei phone owners are being offered other enticements too. They can get a 20% discount at a bar in Beijing. Seen in Beijing, bring a Huawei phone and get 20% off. Similar to this story, we covered yesterday https://QQXL1IYPQL Twitter.com Soccerlove. End of Twitter post by @LuoShunji. At least one firm has threatened to penalize anyone buying Apple products. A few days ago, Manpada Shenzhen, based London display manufacturer offered subsidies to any employees buying Huawei phones. It also pledged to fine anyone who bought an Apple iPhone. United States prosecutors alleged Ms. May 46 used a Huawei subsidiary called Skycom to evade sanctions on Iran between 2009 and 2014. They also allege she publicly misrepresented Skycom as being a separate company from Huawei, and that she deceived banks about the true relationship between the two companies. Ms. Meng, who is the daughter of Huawei's founder, has denied any wrongdoing and said she will contest the allegations. Life of Huawei's high-flying heiress. The United States has been investigating the Chinese telecoms giant, the world's second-largest smartphone maker, since 2016, believing that it used Skycom to bring the United States manufacturing equipment and millions of dollars in transactions to Iran in violation of sanctions. Ms. Meng's detention comes amid an increasingly acrimonious trade dispute between Washington and Beijing. China is angry at her detention, saying she has not violated any laws. Beijing has threatened severe consequences unless Canada releases the executive. Since her arrest, Two Canadians, a former diplomat and a businessman, have been detained in China on suspicion of harming national security. United States President Donald Trump said last week that he might intervene in the United States Justice Department's case against Ms. Meng if it would serve national security interests or help achieve a trade deal with China. If I think it's good for what will be certainly the largest trade deal ever made, which is a very important thing, what's good for national security, I would certainly intervene if I thought it was necessary.